Hey guys, I'm Ayush, and in this video you'll be learning how to master manual mode in your camera in just under 15 minutes. So let's get started. Yes, you heard it right, under 15 minutes. Now you'll be thinking, oh, I've been shooting and I've been trying to learn manual mode for the past 1 year, for the past 2 years, but how will you teach me manual mode in 15 minutes? Well, it's just the basics of manual mode, and then later all you have to do in photography is just keep on experimenting and keep on taking better shots and better images and getting better at it. So let's get started. Now, first things first, you need to switch your camera to mode M. Now there'll be a letter M in your dial which you need to switch to. There'll be four main letters in your dial. There'll be A, which does not stand for auto, it stands for aperture priority. S, which stands for shutter priority. M, which stands for manual mode. And last but not the least, P, which stands for program mode. Now in the Canon cameras there is AV mode, which is P in Nikon, which is program mode. So that is tip number one. Switch your camera to mode M. Now, why do you want to shoot in manual mode? Well, manual mode gives you a lot of flexibility in playing with the light, composition and color, etc. In auto mode, you don't have to do anything. But that does not make any sense. You have paid so much of money in investing good camera and good lenses. You have got the top of the line good camera and you've got the best camera in the entire market which fits your budget. But there's no point if you shoot in automatic, because you are not getting the images which you want. You think by continuously upgrading your camera you'll get the images. No, you're wrong. That is another great and biggest myth in photography. Well, coming back to mastering manual mode, you can either shoot in manual mode, which is complete manual. You adjust everything including the focus, the aperture, the shutter speed, the ISO, all the exposure bracketing, etc. Or you can use the semi-manual mode such as aperture priority and shutter priority. Well, I don't like aperture or shutter priority, either of them. I always just shoot in manual mode. So there are three main segments which I'll be talking to you about today, which is aperture, shutter speed and ISO. So let's dive into it. First things first, aperture. Well, there are many different types of lenses. There is prime lenses as well as there is zoom lenses. I've made a special video on it. You can go and check it out. I'll be giving a link over here and also in the description box below. I've talked everything about prime and zoom over there, so check that video out. Now, in prime lenses, you have a shallower depth of field or a bigger aperture which will enter more light coming inside your sensor. Basically, what it will do is in the night time when you don't have that much of light or when you need to use artificial light, instead you can just use a lower aperture and shoot it even during night. If you're taking a single shot of one person, if you want that creamy and bookylicious background, all you need to do is reduce your aperture to the lowest, say f1.8 or f2. And when you're keeping your eye in the viewfinder, you will find a small square or a small dot. And make sure when you're focusing, keep that small square or that small dot in the person's eye or in the eye of the subject. So that means the eye will be in focus and the rest of the background and the foreground will be completely blurred. So this is an amazing tip of aperture. Now, if you're shooting a lot of people and you want everybody in focus, then you need to use a bigger aperture, which means say f5.6 or f8, where everybody will be in focus. Now, moving on to the second, which is shutter speed. Now, lower the shutter speed, of course, enters more light inside. Let's imagine that this is the sensor. This is the main area where the light hits. And this is the shutter speed. Okay, so whenever you're shooting video like this on a DSLR, the shutter opens up, which means the light can directly hit the sensor and the video is shot. But suppose when you're taking photographs, okay, this is the sensor, this is the shutter speed. It is always like this. So cameras generally these days, DSLR cameras have maximum shutter speed of 30 seconds, and after that they have something called bulb mode. Now 30 seconds means that this shutter will open up for 30 seconds, which means the sensor will be exposed to the light for 30 seconds, which means so much light will enter. So when you are doing something like light rays or astrophotography where you want to capture all the stars, or something like Milky Way, or even just star trails, you will keep this open for 30 seconds. If you want more than 30 seconds, you will have to use either timer or you will have to use an intervalometer, which I'll be explaining in future videos. So 30 seconds you will be opening, and then after 30 seconds it will close. Now, if you want to shoot daily, say I'll give you one scenario. You need to explain and you need to try and give your answer down in the comment section below. Now, say it is very dark, okay, you're in the night, you're in the street, there are a lot of street lights, but you don't like that ambient lighting. You want to give your own type of lighting without any artificial lights or flash. And you have say a decent camera, say a Nikon D7200 with a 50mm f1.8. So what will you do? Okay, your aperture, you will of course set it to f1.8 because you want it to be low. Now, your shutter speed and your ISO, you'll have to support it with your aperture. How a photograph forms is all three, the aperture, the shutter speed and the ISO, all three of them come together to form a photograph. So your shutter speed will again be low. Now all this again you have to do just by experimenting, but I'll just tell a tentative shutter speed, which will be approximately 80th of a second or 100th of a second. 80th to 1/25th of a max shutter speed you can keep it for handheld shots. If you want anything less than this, then you'll have to either use a tripod or you'll have to use more ISO. So that is shutter speed. If you want to capture a car which is going at full speed across you, you'll have to use a very fast shutter speed, which is 4,000th of a second, or say even 8,000th of a second if required. But then again, the aperture will be either very low or very high. That you'll again have to experiment according to the scenarios. Now, third part which we'll be talking about is ISO, which is basically sensitivity of the sensor. Now, ISO is basically artificial light. The less the amount of ISO gives less grains or no grains, suppose at ISO 100, and more the amount of ISO when you need, more the grains come. Talking about ISO, okay, let's take the night scenario itself. Aperture you have adjusted, it's at f1.8. Your shutter speed is at 100th of a second. Now what will be your ISO? ISO you can start anywhere from 400 all the way to 800 or even more if you need it. But if you are in the night light and if you want a good bokeh, your aperture is at 1.8, your shutter speed is at 100th of a second, and if you want a sharp image, then your ISO needs to be low as possible. You can keep it at 400 and shoot, you won't get any of the grains. If you keep it at 800, you will get little bit of grains. But if you try and keep on moving above 800, you'll start getting more grains. Now, cameras like D7200 or D7500, even D850 or D750, they have way better ISO sensitivity range, which starts from low, which starts at 100 all the way to 25,600 or even more than that. So that is mastering manual mode. Now all you have to do is just always practice and practice. Whenever you're free, take your camera out. Your camera is your best friend. Take your camera out, go and keep on shooting and posting. Now you'll be thinking if it's a bad picture or a good picture, and you'll be confused to post, but then you won't know for yourself how to judge, because you can't judge your own photograph. People need to judge your photograph, and that's how you will get better and better. I've been doing professional freelance photography and videography for the past 6 years. I've got people saying a lot of bad pictures, a lot of good pictures, but there's always critiques and there's always compliments. You will have to take it in a positive way and you will have to go and get ahead. So that's it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, please do hit the like button, share it with your friends and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, this is Ayush signing off. See you on Thursday. Bye-bye.